We already have the Ioniq 5, 6, and 9. Let me introduce you to the Ioniq Concept 3. A few hours ago at IAA Mobility in Munich, Germany, Hyundai took the wraps off the Concept 3. This is going to be the preview of what is coming for the production Ioniq 3. So what Hyundai has given us is a 4-door, suicide doors actually in the concept, but that's not going to make it to production, a 4-door hatchback that is being touted mostly for the European market. But boy, am I keeping my fingers crossed that this thing comes to the US, because we need a small EV from Hyundai now, because they're kind of really beginning to phase out the Kona Electric for the 2026 model year. It's only going to be available in the SE small battery pack, so you're not going to be able to get the long range version of the Kona Electric here anymore. With Hyundai's concept cars, they almost always stay relatively true to the concept. We saw that with the Ioniq 5, with the Ioniq 6, and the Ioniq 9. So it's safe to say that this form factor, this design, is probably not going to change all too much for the production version. And we do kind of know that based on some spy photos, which we will get to later in the video. But first, let's take a look at the concept. So when I first saw the images of the concept here, my first thought was Hyundai Veloster or Honda CR-Z, which some of you might remember. That almost floating roofline with the really pointy window in the back just really screamed CR-Z to me at first. Now that car is a 2-door, but this is not going to be a 2-door. So of course in the press release, there's going to be all sorts of fluff about what this car means to them. And they say, the debut represents Hyundai Motors' commitment to offering exceptional EVs in a rapidly evolving global market, where the focus shifts from technological advancement to experiences of emotional fulfillment. They go on, with Europe experiencing a surging demand for compact EVs driven by urbanization, sustainability regulations, and the growing need for space-efficient solutions. The Concept 3 demonstrates Hyundai Motors' vision for meeting this demand by drawing on its advanced electrification capabilities. And I sure hope that means a new ICCU. Complementing its strategic positioning, Concept 3's innovative design also underscores the brand's commitment to delivering a meaningful, emotionally resonant experience in an accessible and practical package. Hyundai Motor anticipates the introduction of Concept 3 to set the tone for its next chapter of design innovation and strengthen its competitive position in the electrification journey. So with the design language here, this could be a preview of what we can expect when the Ioniq 5 gets fully redesigned in the next couple of years. The paint color they're using here looks like matte gray. On the front, you can see it does have a very narrow LED daytime running light, similar to the Ioniq 9. They've gone with this kind of cool yellow tinted glass, which is really interesting looking. That's definitely not going to hit production. They're actually calling this glass lemon tinted. Looking at the back, it's got a ducktail spoiler that also looks like it's made out of glass. Very interesting design there. And it kind of goes down below the strip of LED lights on the back of the car, which appear to be fully pixelated from end to end. And in the concept, it looks like they can basically do any pattern of brake lights or reverse lights that they want. Kind of a cool concept. Huge rear diffuser on the bottom, and then in the center there, looks like it has some rear blasting speakers just to inundate the person behind you with fake sounds of acceleration. Very interesting looking interior, covered in yellow, lots of silver. And something you'll see in the video is they have this little kind of animated guy that they're calling Mr. Pix, who on first blush to me, maybe this is something that's going to be in Plios, their next-gen operating system, which is going to be like a virtual assistant of some sort, kind of like what some Chinese automakers have done. I forget which automaker it is, but they have like a little guy on the dashboard in this little round circle who just kind of turns to who's in the car talking to it and like makes winky eyes and stuff. Not really something I care all that much about, but maybe younger Gen Z types would really be into that. They're saying Mr. Pix, he is a symbolic character integrated throughout the car who evokes curiosity, joy, and emotional connection, offering playful storytelling through hidden surprises, and interactive design elements. Absolutely gigantic headrests that look like a seat bottom cushion. Not any real substantial center display anywhere to be seen. But here it goes even a step further with having like these tiny little screens, some weird knob things. I don't really know what is going on here. And they like pop out from the dashboard. It just really kind of strange stuff. In the press release, they did provide some dimensions of the concept. These don't necessarily mean it will transfer to production, but they kind of give us an idea of what kind of dimensions overall they're thinking about here. So length, basically 4.3 meters, width 1.94 meters, wheelbase 2.72 meters. The 2024 Kona Electric is 4.35 meters long. Width-wise, the current Kona is 1.83 meters wide. This width, 1.94 meters wide, so it's a little bit wider. But to me, what's most interesting is the wheelbase. The existing Kona, 2.66 meters, and this 2.72 meters, which should lead to big interior volume because the existing Kona from the first Kona already gained a ton of interior room. So this should have a good amount of cabin space. So yeah, that's the concept. Basically no other details besides that. It's a concept. They don't ever tell you anything else to expect. But now that we've looked at the concept, let's take a look at some of the spy photos we've seen over the last few weeks of a car that is out in the wild. So the first photo comes courtesy of Shorts Car. They do spy imagery in Korea. For whatever reason, all the outlets last week saw this photo and said, oh, this must mean that it's getting a NACS port. And if you look at the photo, there is no proof here that this is a NACS port. It is clearly a CCS2 port for Europe. You can see the flap underneath the upper charge port, which indicates that it has DC charging pins separate from the level 2 charger, which is plugged into this car. It's clearly not NACS in this photo. I don't know why everybody thought that. It looks like they're using a J1772 adapter to CCS2. But the main takeaway from this photo is the charging port is going to be on the front passenger fender. And it is going to have a CCS2 port, obviously for Europe, because they have one standard. I can also tell from this photo that it looks like that DC pin cover down below is hinged, which is nice, so you don't have to pull out that stupid little cap anymore and have it dangling. You can just tilt that open. And it does look like it is going to be a non-powered charge port door, which I am perfectly fine with. The other thing we know from this charge port placement, because this is what Kia has done with EV3, is it is going to be a front-wheel drive first vehicle. Whether it will be all-wheel drive as well remains unknown. The reason we know it will be a front-wheel drive car is because they want to keep all of this wiring as short as possible. So in the front of the car, you'll have the motor, and then you'll have the ICCU and inverters, and then a short length of cable to that charge port to eliminate charging losses. And now some more spy photos thanks to Auto Express. We can see that it is going to be a 4-door with normal doors, no suicide doors. You can see the little covers there covering the door handles. So it's not going to have like one of those black colored hidden door handles like you see in some small hatchbacks. No digital side mirrors here on this car out in the wild. There's some weird little thing on top of the driver door. Really have no idea what that could be. Looking at the side, you can see that hatchback roofline. Looking from the rear, it does look like there is a pretty pointy spoiler there, so they're probably going to be emulating that ducktail spoiler from the concept. And then a very narrow rear light strip. Maybe they're only showing the bare minimum they need to be legally required to be on public roads. Maybe there's some bigger pixels there, but that is a very small rear tail light. Those larger openings on the corners are presumably for radar sensors, and then the smaller holes down below are for your ultrasonic parking sensors. The ones kind of across the middle, those are probably reverse lights or something. Looks like there might be some lights in those two smaller center openings, but there's really no way of knowing. So it'll be interesting to see what cargo capacity looks like, because it does look like the roofline does drop pretty significantly behind the second row. Maybe it'll be a little less space than the refreshed Kona Electric that came out in 2024, but I hope not. With that longer wheelbase, I hope that means that it will retain most of that cargo capacity. Now, oddly enough, this vehicle here has another flap on the driver's side of the car where the charging port would be. So maybe this is a completely different vehicle for a different market, or maybe they're going to be putting out cars that have dual charge ports. Who knows? Also, from the sign in the background here, I don't know German, but that looks like German to me, so maybe this is a vehicle that is out in Europe. The first car I showed you, there was Korean written on the ground, so that one must have been taken in Korea. So they're definitely getting pretty close to production here. I would be shocked if we don't see a production version in the next 4 to 6 months. If this does prove to be a Europe and everywhere outside of America kind of car, I think I'll definitely go and check this one out in person. I've really wanted to check out the EV3, so maybe that could make a good little trip. Go see the Ioniq 3 and the EV3, and Kia's EV2 might be out by then, so could make a good little trip to Europe. So that's what I've got for you guys for the Concept Ioniq 3. If you guys liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. I was recently looking at my statistics. 81.4% of you are not subscribed, so hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out, really helps me get seen by other people. Check out my store at ioniqguy.com for accessories for your Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis EV. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.